All right, John, how you doing, mate?
No bad, mate. How you?
I'm good. I'm good. So we are doing this wee call here, mate, just because it's been a year since you completed the Man Clan Heroes Journey and Rite Passage 9-week course. So we just want to do a wee series, speak to a couple of the guys who have went through the course to see, basically speak about your journey, really, each individual journey of where you were before the course, during the course, and afterwards, and sort of how Manclan played a part in that. Not everybody's journey is just with Manclan. Obviously, there's other people that help use throughout it, and we play a part in that. Some bigger than others with some people. So it's just really give you a chance to speak about your journey and see where you're at, and hopefully that might inspire other people to make change as well. So, first question I would say would be, where was your life before you signed up to Man Clan's Heroes Journey, and what made you sign up to it?
Um, First of all, lovely being called. Nice to see you again today. Where my life was, I was in a transition period. Also, my life had become very, very unmanageable with years of drink and drug abuse. And for years and years, I used to carry a lot of guilt and shame around with me and burden myself with my using and stuff. And I tried for years and years to really get clean and stay clean, but I wasn't very successful at all. Um, I'd always go for periods of being clean and go back on the drink and stuff. And I started working with Mark, who's obviously my clan also. He was my coach and stuff. Getting clean with him and going to meetings, I really got to know who I was to start with, going through that journey. And I started having a bit of identity about myself. And I just started learning a lot of stuff like all the principles in A and just its behaviours and stuff. And obviously, when I was coming through the process, I wasn't totally honest in things because I was clean and I stayed clean, but I was still actually selling drugs at the time. And that to me was a lifestyle. That's all I ever knew from when I was in my early 20s. I had an LTP prison sentence and basically going through all that and coming out and trying to get jobs and being your average Joe didn't really work for me because society didn't accept me because I had a criminal record. It was very, very hard to go and get jobs and be that ordinary guy that worked in 9 to 5. So, in my active addiction, that evolved around selling drugs and basically just not so much of selling drugs, just making means to get by day to day. Because even when I wasn't doing that, selling drugs, I was out taking drugs and I had to fund what I was doing. I just used to go out, rip people off and stuff like that, which I'm not proud of. It was a terrible way to live, and I've had to carry that about me my full life and just be always like Del Boy, so to speak, wheeling and dealing, just having enough money to survive. And it was terrible. It was fight and flight. And obviously coming up with Mark, it was great. I started learning principles and stuff, and I started to get clean. I just took it step by step, and obviously I met you at a Thai retreat, which was really good to connect again, and that was one of my loves 3 years ago. And then coming into Manclan really, really shaped me because the simple reason was I found out who I was and why I was that way because I could go back through my past, and it was the whole trauma when I was a young guy, having to deal with death situations and my mother wounds and father wounds. I genuinely didn't really think that I had a problem with my parents. I knew there was some stuff there, but until I dug deep into it and I asked myself the hard questions of why I'm on, I used to always beat myself up about it. And now I can live with what I've done in the past. The way I used to live, I realised that I was a sick person, but I was just touching on my trauma, so to speak. Like when I was wee, my first ever experience of death was being in a room with a dead body who was an uncle of mine, and that was an open top coffin. And my mum and dad didn't explain to me what was going on. They went into the pub and left me in that house, but there was other people there because it was awake. And then my uncle died at 14. I was close to him, and my best friend died. But all these tragedies, when I was younger, was death, and I didn't know how to. I was a young boy, and my father wasn't there for me when I was wee. He used to always drink and he used to batter me and my mum. So being that young guy trying to be a man was really hard. I found I lacked that father figure to show me how to be a man. He really wasn't a good role model, a good man, so he couldn't be one to me. So I just had to really navigate my way through life myself for a lot of times for my adolescent years. Um, and then my best friend nearly died in a car crash. I was meant to be in the car that night, and that really, really messed me up, my head wise, because I was actually, when it happened the night, that evening, I was tried to get into the car that night and it was full. And I ended up going back to my parents' house, and a friend from the village had phoned me and says that you know what's happened and stuff like that. It was just all this travesty. And then the final straw for me was finding my friend dead in my kitchen. I was 21, and that really, really hit home. And then after that, I ended up going into prisons, and addiction got worse for me. It was spiraled out of control. And we got away for a long prison sentence. It done me the world do good. It done me the world of good, because I managed to get clean for a considerable length of time, and then coming back out again, it was just all the temptations and getting in with the wrong crowd, and it just became a cycle all my life, early 20s up until I started getting clean in April 2023, and I've been on this journey since, and it's just over 2 years now that I've been clean and stayed clean and lived that old life behind me, all my bad stuff, like selling drugs and just the way I used to live and behave and all my traits and stuff, like lying and being dishonest. I've started being living honestly, and my core values have just went from strength to strength. But doing my clan has let me go to the deeper problems of who I was and why I was like that, and it's got me to have a better understanding of just like not really be so hard on myself, because that my path was set out for me for all these traumas, and that's the reason I went that way. So it was absolutely brilliant to be part of and really take it in. It's been a great experience. It's really shaped me to where I'm at now in my life.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. I mean, I remember like speaking to my well, we know each other for the past. We playing football with each other, running about West Lothian. So we played football together quite a lot, different teams and stuff like that. And then we kind of went our separate ways. We me stopped playing football, you doing other things. But I mean, during all that time, there was a lot of drinking, drugs and stuff. It was just sort of in the football community when it was just it was part of the Saturday, really. Um,
Mhm.
so I kind of involved in stuff with that with yourself and playing football and then partying at the weekends. But it was the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays where we won with each other that we didn't realise that. I mean, I could maybe switch off to it, and then you were maybe going further down the rabbit hole. You know what I mean? But I remember Mark speaking to you. So obviously we know Mark is a mutual friend as well. Mark was working with you, doing the holistic lifestyle and stuff like that, and just minds connecting me again. And that's where I think that obviously made it better as well for you and us to know there was a we already knew each other, you know what I mean, and knew that we
Mhm.
could help you. Um, I remember when you first came on there as well, like when we spoke to you, you were so erratic. You couldn't articulate things. It was sort of jumping from one story to the next. And I remember that it kind of took me back to when I first started my journey as well. There was just so much going on in my head that I
Mhm.
couldn't articulate, and everything was just a mess. And half it was truth, half it was lies. You know what I mean? That's how I remember it for myself. You know what I mean? So I could really resonate with that with you. But I remember you just being so erratic and everything was high on because you were just living in fight or flight even. But you were doing a lot of good work with Mark, and and that's why I think community is so big as well. Is like it's no one size fits all, and you just work with us one person, and that's it. I think us all collaborating together is really important, and then obviously we'll come on to how that's came on later with Jamie Sanctuary and stuff as well. But I just on the course, you touched on how the course helped you to sort of understand father wounds and mother wounds and father wounds. So just to explain our course a wee bit for other people who might watch this, is that we basically do a 9 week course, 8 weeks it's online, a bit like we're doing the now on a Thursday night, and we give you tasks each week and we work through the masculine male archetypes. That basically we explain psychology in a way that men can understand and not university speak or anything that, not clinical, just a way that we can understand really, and it makes it allows you to understand your habits and behaviors, where traumas come, how they affect our life, how our parents' lives were, and how that affects us, and hopefully we can be whoever's on the course can be the generational change, can stop that generational trauma. You know what I mean? Um, And then that's what you're talking about, work through like the father wounds and the mother wounds and take you back to your past really to understand where these things come to. Because nobody chooses that life. It comes from somewhere, you know what I mean? And it's your environment. Obviously, through times you have choices to do things and not to do things, but ultimately, when you're in those environments, you don't think there's anything else out there for you. You know what I mean? You just think that's the norm. You know what I mean? So that's really I got it sort of open the course up. So we do it's the 8 week course, working through all that, and you're obviously how what was the hardest thing you found about the course, John? Like through the 8 to 9 weeks.
Um, Probably the rocking at the end. That was hard. But physical side of it was hard. Obviously, the first time I've done it. Very, very tough for me. But the first 10, 15 minutes, I was wanting to throw the towel in, but that was only in the 15K. But it's because my t-shirt was right up my back, it was digging right in, and I didn't want to let the six people I was way down because I just didn't want to do that. Been part of the team all my life and stuff. That was tough physically, but going through that and having to go through my mother wounds and father wounds was pretty tough for me because I've always had that feeling of not being good enough in my adolescent years, and you'll maybe resonate with this maybe, but I feel like what you fit, well, you want your dad's your hero, so to speak, and when your dad can't live up to what you want him to be, it's very, very hard to process for a young man. You put this guy in a pedestal, and as you get older and older in life, 14, 15, that's when obviously my dog taking started getting worse, but at least with football, that was going through this, he was pushing me not to go to football and like push myself. It was just saying, go here, it's easier for me. And he didn't drive for me. So a lot of people Best United, a guy I've got a lot of gratitude for, just take me to places and take me to trials because he couldn't do it, he was always drunk. It's embarrassing. But I couldn't really articulate how I was feeling about that. Well, I could, but it usually just came with anger. We usually argue and shout at each other, and like I always wanted him to do better for me, and just they just couldn't do it because he was in a disease addiction. It was always denial. I was an alcoholic, but knowing what I know about now, it was alcoholism. And obviously till this day, he'll still deny it. We don't speak longer anymore, which is obviously quite sad, but it is what it is. I've tried to make amends through Hero's journey. I actually went away up and tried to speak to him, and I just it just blew my mind to how 3D he was, and I wanted just to say, look, he couldn't really tell me to love me at all, ever. I explained all my feelings towards him, and then his response to me was that mental health wasn't a thing, and stuff I wasn't going through, and that's just him not accepting responsibility. And I made the decision 18 months ago not to speak to him. I wasn't going to pursue a relationship because I've tried all my days, and I've always wanted for his approval or appeasal, so to speak. And he really could have done a bit more, but I didn't blame him for that. I just his past wasn't been the same, but just I feel that he should have took more responsibility for it. And I live by my values now, and I can do it with my own sons and try and pass on what I wasn't pass on now. And it's just a learning process. And I feel where I'm on in my life now, I've really broke that cycle of that and what I'm doing in my community and stuff. I'll touch on that in the last, but I feel that I've really broke that curse. I'm a leading light in that environment, and it's great because I'm getting so much self growth with it and just so much freedom, so to speak, to help others and helping young people in the community where I wasn't helped. And I feel my lived experience is massive to what I'm trying to achieve here. And it's somebody that's went through it can only pass it on. Much better than what somebody for university or college can. I feel just my personal opinion, but I think that's the case.
Really important as well is when we obviously do the 9 week courses, it's group coaching. So you're in there with anywhere between 5 to 12 other men, and we're working through these. So everybody has a different story to tell, everybody has a different journey. And I remember you going to speak to your dad and trying to work through that. And unfortunately, like he says, he's no emotionally mature enough to be able to deal with that. But it took great courage for you to go in and have that conversation, and then it's working through trying to reparent yourself. You know what I mean? And knowing how you can have acceptance of that and move on, and how you can sort of yeah, accept that and move on from it. But one of the big unique things we had with you being on the course that we've not had again yet, but hopefully will in the future is you came on it with Lachlan, on it with your son. So we had father and son on that, which we didn't know how that was going to go. You know what I mean? Because especially you have to be so well. The whole point is trying to get people to be so open and honest and be vulnerable, and you to be so honest with your past and present, really, at the time in front of your son, would have been difficult for both of these, and the other way for Lachlan, to be honest, about his upbringing through your addiction and stuff like that, and how he felt. Um, it just blew my mind how well you were able to handle that, because we were going to do it separately, like at the times we were going to take one of you off the call. Mind we had the discussion, but you were like,
Aye.
no, we're like we're open to sort of like speak in front of each other. And it was just incredible, the strength that you've both shown, and even I think that was like week 4 or something, how you were able to hold space and not react after hearing truths from each other. It was very, very difficult, and even the growth in that time, not just used to, but because we're talking about you, was just incredible. Um, how do you think going through that journey together has helped you and Lachlan?
It helped us massively because even like through it, I'd always have to let him have his own voice, so to speak. And my trouble is, I've been trying to live his life, and it was really hard for me not to live his life because I didn't want to make the same mistakes as what I made. And there was times where I'd like, you even pulled me up on it to finish his sentences and just let him be himself and let him make his own mistakes. And I've still to this day struggle with that, but I've got really, really better with it. And the choice he's making now, whether I agree with him or I disagree with him, I'm not constantly on him about it. I just tend to let it leave now. We have a relationship. I spoke to him last night when I was waiting at the hotel, had a good chat for 10, 15 minutes. I'd not spoken to him for a week or two. He's away doing his exams, and I'm just letting him live his own journey and having to when I get up in the morning, pray and meditate on that and hand it over to God. It's like I can accept where he is and where he's going. I'll be there to guide him. And I'm just learning as if it's school days a father, but I've learned to take that back as much. I'm not pressing tense, which has been good for me because it's only me that was hurting through it. I might not agree with his decisions because he's a teenager, he's going to make them, but I'm there to support him now and I can deal with that a lot better now instead of getting me going from there to there. When I used to react, my anger was, and it's like, no, Kermit, look and do what you want. I didn't support it, but that's fine. It's your journey for me. Read me. It's like, he's seen a different side to me now. And we've got, not the relationship was ever strained, but when we were being a bit strained, that was a bit too much. I just used to know for him and cut back a bit, and he would be the same with me. And we're learning off each other because we've went through this course, and our relationship is better than ever now. And it's great because we just understand that both of us need for each other rather than me saying it's typical addict behaviour. I need you to do this, I want you to do that. And it's if he's not got to do it, he's not got to do it. That's what it is.
Aye.
Um,
I think the biggest thing we've seen is when you first came onto the course, it didn't seem like there was a boundary between being pals and being a father and son. The way you
aye,
spoke to each other was like quite cutting at times, you know what I mean? It was just like
aye,
banter in the changing rooms, really, the way you spoke to
yeah,
each other
yeah.
like best pals. So when you were trying to then like speak to him as a father, as a dad. It was like, but you speak to me like that for you. Like, don't tell me what to do, I'm your pal. It was like there wasn't a
Aye.
boundary there, and that was like
Mhm,
trying to get the two of you to understand that. And I think the two of you growing through that as well. I mean, Lachlan, I would say to now, he was an impressive young man. What he done, just even going through the 8 weeks of the psychological stuff as a young man at 16, 15 at the time actually.
15 at
Wasn't
the
he?
time, aye, was
15 at the
15.
time, that's why we had to make sure you were on every call for
Aye, aye.
obviously garden and stuff like that. To see him go through that and then like the psychological stuff, but the physical stuff. I mean, he's a big lad anyway. You know, what I mean, he is big. I mean, he's strong, but to go through the rite of passage and what he pushed himself through for the rite of passage was just nothing short of remarkable. You know what I mean? And it was a pleasure to see, and also great to see that the course, and well, obviously we're still in the infancy of it, so great to see that it can be suitable for somebody at that age, you know what I mean? But great to see that, well, we've obviously got guys like yourself and Big Matt and other people in through there that are nearly 40-year-old that have got kids and stuff that they're having to heal, their kids are having to heal for them because we were so late in our lives to make change. But then
Mhm,
you're getting Lachlan, who's 16, 15, 16, who you're hoping that you can catch early enough and get him to go through these things and learn about himself and have a moral compass so he can then he doesn't have to undo all the bad or the hard or the bad decisions that he makes. You know what I mean? He's still going
mhm.
to have to make his own decisions and he's going to make the wrong ones, but hopefully he doesn't go as far down the rabbit holes which we went. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's all we can hope for. But aye, it was incredible to watch yous go through that, mate. Um, so. Aye, the rite of passage is where that's a Gucci bit in it. That's what everybody's really in for. You know what I mean? That's where we drag them in, the physical part. So that we end the course in a 4 day retreat, in-person retreat down in Lithgow, and we incorporate in that jiu-jitsu, cold water, yomp, shark tank sparring. So on the Saturday we do cold water therapy. Saturday's a big day in it. That's the main one really. We do the cold water therapy, then we do a 5 mile yomp up to a simulated hunt, and then we do that, and the risk there is if you don't shoot, you don't hit the target, you don't eat. You
You
know what
don't
I
eat,
mean?
aye.
And then you have to yomp back. Um, as far as tests go, that's probably the hardest thing most people will go through, eh?
Definitely. It's hard for me because I've never done archery before. But I surprised myself. I actually was the only one to hit all the target. Um, so that was really surprising for me. But I managed to get through it, get that. And it made the yacht back a lot easier because I've got big shoulders, like the 30 kilogram, it kind of sat me. And I just managed to. It becomes a mental battle after that because it's where we done it in the back road. It's all uphill. It definitely wasn't flat. Um,
I think the beauty about that is it's not just down to physical fitness, it comes down to mental resilience, how
mental.
much you're willing to push and suffer, and the fact that yous have all been, and this is the whole point as well, yous all went through the 8 weeks together, yous became so close because you're telling each other things that you've never told anybody. So that you build that bond through vulnerability, and then at that rite of passage, yous are all pushing like the togetherness to keep everybody going. Nobody wants to be that person to drop out, and not through ego or anything like that.
No.
It's more just you want to get through because you've been through so much together. You are all pushing each other and seeing these, and not just your group, but the other groups. It's always the same. It's like that togetherness is just incredible. And to get through that, it's like I nobody wants to give up, and it's a great thing to get to the end of that. I think it's like the old military thing is like bonds through hardship, but in positives way rather than negative way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, and like you say, anytime, even if you meet guys that have been on the course before or after you, you'll have that bond because you know what you've been through. It's a bit like somebody saying that they've been in the army or whatever, they've been to, you know, what I mean, they've done war or they've been to war or that. You don't have to know what they've been through to for the other soldier or the other military person to have that respect. And it's the same with this, I would say. As soon as somebody
Mhm.
comes into the King's group, you don't have to know what their vulnerabilities were or their journey was or anything like that. It's just like, you've got through the rite of passage, you've earned that coin. So you've done it, and there's that, and that's what we're trying to build that community. And I hopefully we can just keep progressing. So how different is your life now from, or well, from after the course now to what it was before?
Um, it is different in a massive way. So obviously going through the course and stuff, I was still, obviously, I said you touched on being dishonest and things like that, and it just really came to my head. I didn't know what I'd be feeling the way I did in living, the way I did. I knew obviously getting clean and stuff, and I managed to get out of that life. And probably about probably November, October time last year, I started. Before that, I was thinking, I'd always think about it. I started making influence and doing my recovery work, helping people, and then getting into coaching with footballers, making plans in place to make the change. But it was still scary, don't get me wrong. I managed to do it, and then this year is the first year in my life where I've ever started a complete new year clean, free for anything hold me back, dishonesty, all that stuff. And I feel over the last 5 or 6 months, the smiles on my face have just grew and grew and grew, and got to a stage where I'm just happy and content in life. I started a job 3 months ago. I went for interviews and stuff. I went for an interview with a peer support worker. I was so close to getting it. I really wanted it. But I know there's no time for me. It's no God's hands yet. 30, 30 people applied for the job and I came third. But the person who was a peer support worker, Kevin, he's at least lived experience. It went between the interview I went for was two police, two board members, and him. He was finding out now what I know now with what my friend Amanda. Kevin was actually want me because of my lived experience, but the board wasn't. So there was a bit of delicacy between that. So that made me feel good because my name was out there, and that's the career I want to pursue. But I ended up getting a job as a labourer. I work with this roofing company at the moment, and being an addict. my thing was through time, if I get bored, I could use. So I've put that in place now. I'm out to walk and I go out in the morning and I come back home. I'm in the house for back at 4, sometimes 5, but my routine is structured and now. Whereas when I was doing my coaching and stuff and I was waiting all week and it was dragging in, it goes in quick now and I can enjoy my weekends. I've got the balance right. It's not perfect, but I'm getting such work balance, football balance, life balance, family balance, and it's just everyone's just ongoing. And I'm still doing a lot of volunteer work with Jamie Sanctuary. I work there on a Thursday night. I'm there a lot now, every week, 2 hours a night, 2 hours a week, sorry. And my 3 hours on Friday night, I volunteer as a youth support worker. That's 5 hours a week on top of what my 41 hours a week. So I'm really, really busy. I play football at good level still. I coach a team. And I've just what I do in my spare time. My kids have still got a family, a young family to bring up and be a good role model. And where I was compared to where I is now, it's night and day. And I've still got my meetings and that test. I'll put a lot of work in my recovery, whether it be 3, 4 a week. I've got the magic number. I'm free every week. I'm still doing them, 2 online, 2 in person, or 1 in person. I vary it, but I'm just getting ready to go for the step work as well. And I've got a new sponsor and we're building a relationship and it's really, really good. And where I'm at in my life is the happiest and content I've ever been. It's thanks to my clan hero journey and it's thanks to just working the steps and meet up with Mark and go through that whole holistic change because my life now is I live a holistic life of what I do with yoga, cold water, stretching, Qigong, all that stuff is implemented in what I do in my life. And I'm trying to bring it to my football with my team now. So what I'm doing as a manager I didn't do when I was a player myself, and I'm trying to
Aye.
bring all these things into my football now, and it's having a positive effect on all these young men because we go up to the water like 5 or 6 years and they're buying into it, and it's great. It's I'm trying to bring like Jamie Sanchez and my football team together to do cold water dips, and it's getting busy. We started to have 2s, up to 4, up to 5, up to 6, and we had 8 last week, and it's so pleasing that I can just
Yeah.
keep building week to week. And I know there'll be more time the summer comes in. It just a matter of building and people knowing I'm still doing it and stuff like that. It's great.
Aye,
It's really good
no,
to be
it's
part
good,
of.
mate. It's been great to see your journey, and even like I says at the start, when we first spoke, it's like everything's so erratic, hard to articulate, and to hear you speaking things now, it's just, it's so easy, you know what I mean? And it's great to, for you, just living an honest life now, you know what I mean? Being able to speak about your life without having to lie, you know what I mean? You can be honest about it, you know what I mean? And the weight lifting off your shoulders and getting out of that fight or flight mode and having to look over your shoulder or worry and paranoid or whatever it was. It just, it's great to see, mate. You know what I mean? It's been an incredible journey. And like you say, is that the longer that all that stuff before becomes more past tense, the easier you're going to speak about it. And as much as you've been through a bit of life that you've said before you're not proud of, it's like those negatives in your life then will soon be your positives because there was
Yes.
changing points in there
Yeah.
and all you can do is be honest because that's how we help each other. That's how you help people, you know what I mean? And I like you say you're in Jamie's Sanctuary, we meet there quite a bit as well. And as much as we're sort of doing sort of separate things now, it's all sort of tying into each other as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Collaboration in the community is so important rather than people being selfish and being like, come to me and come to me. Like we all have a part to play. That's why we've got such a big role with Jamie Sanctuary as well. Debbie and Jamie Sanctuary offer that first part that people need is that nurturing female yin energy, you know what I mean? Someone to just go immediately, you know what I mean, and work with them and learn how to articulate their feelings and their emotions and work through things. And then when they're ready, they can obviously come in our course, or the guys are going to football with you, or they could be working with Big Lee, they're going to Steph, so strong. So there's so many people in there, and I think that Debbie Ann's creating in Jamie's Sanctuary as well is absolutely incredible. And it's really great to be a part of it.
As it's so fulfilling, I think what you touched on there, the whole community coming together, we're on different journeys. I've known you for years, but we're all playing a part in these young men's life, and even females who struggle, but obviously Jamie Sanchez for men. It's great because obviously your past, my past, Big Lee's past, we're all strong males now in the community, and we're all for the one goal, and it's just so pleasing. It's so pleasing when we're coming together. The end goal is unique, and a lot of people look up to me and people phone me for the sanctuary and it's so pleasing at your own time of night. I tell them to phone me anytime they want if I get back to my call them back and I can see and I can feel them an inspiration to them. It's brilliant and it's just so good to pass on my knowledge to these young men. Because a great young guys there. It's pleasing.
Listen, I never ever thought that if I ever thought me, you, Lee, and Debbie Ann were in a room together, I thought it'd be a kitchen at 4 in the morning, mate. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So it's great to see everybody's journey and how
Excuse me.
everybody's helping each other. Like you say, completely different paths, and obviously went on a sort of journey of self-discovery and hadn't we all had to change at different points for different reasons. And it's good that we're all coming together, mate. So aye, it's been amazing and it's been great to speak to you again, mate, and sort of go through that again. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to sort of
Definitely.
forget the journeys. You know what I mean? But just one last question, mate. Who would you, or who do you think Man Clan the course would be for, or who would you recommend it to?
Oh, so who would I recommend it to? Hmm. Well, it's got to be people that they want to change in a nutshell. It's people that want to, like, because I'm in recovery at the moment. When I first got clean bars, my thing was I wanted to run around West Lothian and get everybody clean.
Aye.
But it
Put the
doesn't work
cape on
like
and
that.
save everybody. Aye.
That's just my mentality. That's who I am. That's what I want to do. But I quickly realised that you can't help people as they want to help themselves. It's for people that all want to help themselves and push through the boundaries. They will learn a lot about themselves. It's changed my life massively. It's still implementing my life day to day. But the biggest thing is they need to do it, want to do it. And at the time, I wasn't really as physically as fit as what I'm on now. But I still had that determination to go through with the rite of passage and stuff, and just getting to build up friendship and bonds in the community with you guys and people on the course. It made me feel at ease because I could talk to men. But aye, people that want to change and need to be able to do it, and they just need to hear me, hey, that I've got a feeling to go for it. Because I was quite nervous and apprehensive before I came on, and I just grew and grew and grew and grew. And that's what it does. It's the same as recovery going into it. People don't want to change because they're scared of it, but it's the best decision I've done is coming on board, and it's the best decision I've done getting recovery. But it was scary. Change is scary, but the benefits at the end of it is night and day. I can't recommend you guys enough, and it just comes down to being scared really and want to change. It's people just don't know how to, but if they
The
can see
fear.
this and see this, the fear, that's it.
Aye.
They can see the support's there, and people know me from my past and my present, and they'll know what we do and we help each other. And people always have reached out to me and stuff, but making that initial step to come, you guys just recommend it. It's so so good. But once you fight past that, once you fight past that bit of the fear, then there's no going back because you've got the utmost respect of you guys and utmost support you can ever get. It's fascinating, and everybody's so helpful and friendly, which is makes it much easier. Also, just like granted, like Muay Thai and stuff, when I connected back with you, I love Muay Thai years ago, and going back into the Black Box gym and Jiu-Jitsu, everybody's so friendly, there's no egos, and you're not getting leathered for like 5 minutes at a time like I have in previous gyms, and it's everybody stops and helps you. It's just like the newcomers and nice and important people in the room. Well, yeah, same with the meetings, like everybody's want to help you, and that's the friendly community connection I love the most, and it's made me grow, especially in my clan, the support I've had. So aye, it's scary, but it's worth it.
It is, mate, and that's the one thing when people start to make changes, the fear of isolation, the fear of being alone, because they're having to move away from people they've always been with, and that's why it's so important to do the group coaching and have a community is like so you don't have that fear of loneliness. You're going to be people are trying to make change as well. You know what I mean? So you're not on your own. But aye, we'll leave it there, mate. But listen, I really appreciate you coming on and speaking about your journey. It's been great
No
to be a
worries.
part of it. It's been a privilege to be a part of it. And I look to see what's in store for the next year, mate.
Definitely. I wish you all the best, mate. I'll speak to you in a
You
bit.
as well, mate, and we'll catch up soon, mate. But thanks
Take
very
care.
much and all the best, pal. Take care.
No worries. Thank you.
Cheers,
Cheers.
mate. Bye.